Well, that's what practice is for. I mean, obviously, it's not necessarily the game, but you have to do as much as you can from a conditioning standpoint through practice and game simulations and stuff like that. So it's obviously different. The intensity is a lot different in the game, and so we just kind of have to work through that as we go towards week one.
Gerald, who knows, obviously, Devon plays dinged up a little bit. When he's healthy, when is the right time? Because you know, as a coach, you, Josh, and Flo know this is the right time for Devon Holland, intriguing young talent, to supplant Jason, a proven NFL commodity, as an NFL starter. It's a decision you'll face at some point over the course
Mhm.
of the next 4 months. What goes into that decision? How hard will it be? Are you close to making it?
I mean, that'll all come in due time. Whenever that situation presents itself. I mean, Javon still has a lot of things to learn. This guy still has never played in an NFL regular season game, and so we know that although he's shown some great flashes over the course of camp, and we understand some of the things that he's going to be able to bring to our defense, we'll cross that bridge when it's time to get there, and it'll happen, whenever it happens.
So if your gut right now unclear which of those two would be your starter in New England between Jason and Javon, is there anything you have you wouldn't be able to share? I understand.
I definitely wouldn't share that right now. But again, everything is going to take care of itself. We know and have trust in either one of those guys going in there and operating in our defense and with whatever role that we ask them to do. And we're definitely going to make sure that we put our team and our defense in the best position to succeed, regardless of personnel.
You have two NFL proven nickel corners, obviously with Justin and with Nick, and we know there are others like Noah who can do it as well. I noticed last week Nick sort of got more first team work. Justin had gotten really over much of it the first couple of weeks. Then we saw a lot of Nick was first group on Saturday. What led to that? Is that a competition that's awfully close, but what led to Nick getting more first team work?
I think this roster has always been built through competition, and it's just getting able to getting a chance to see Nick go out there with the first unit and compete out there, and show some of the things that he did last year and some of the improvements that he's made. And it's just a matter of just getting guys reps with certain guys, and we want to definitely the chemistry to be really well, regardless of who's in there, to make sure the communication's on point, regardless of what person's in there and what certain roles. So, definitely that was good to see them exercise that with different personnel in the group in the game through the communication that was out there.
Is that going to be a tough call, Justin and Nick? Because you might have to pick one in nickel, in New England and beyond. Is that going to be a tough decision for them to do?
Again, with our personnel, we're lucky to have guys who we feel comfortable in the game, regardless of the situation. And so, that'd be a week by week deal. That'd be based on matchup. That'd be based on game plan. We have the luxury to have really good players that can be trusted out there in certain roles. So, again, we'll revisit that really on a week by week basis.
Thank you.
It was a year or two ago that he even told us that his life changed when he stopped eating McDonald's. He said he lost his, he said he had a little pot belly,
Right.
and he cut out McDonald's and felt like he was much quicker,
Hmm.
obviously better conditioned. But other than his physical condition, what's an area or two in which he's definitely grown and improved since you met him?
Yeah, I think something as small as what you said as far as his nutrition. I mean, I think that just comes into becoming a pro and what works for you and how you can get yourself to maximize your ability out there, whether it be through nutrition or in the classroom. And with Nick and his experience that he's built over the course of time, on and off the field, he's just becoming a better pro. And through the understanding of his role and our defense and just being put in situations through his experience, he's learned to slow the game down through understanding. And so you can kind of see his movements are more efficient than they were maybe a year or two ago. And he's kind of learning on the fly um, what works for him and what makes him successful. And so that's great to see. And you start to see some consistency there.
Do you think he could be as effective when called upon as an outside boundary corner as a slot? Do you think he's equally proficient in both skills?
We believe in Nick Needham. We know that he does a lot of good things, whether it be on the inside or the outside. I think he's had a great training camp, showing that really on a consistent basis. So Nick is a very reliable, dependable player that goes out there and he operates really regardless of any position that he's in on the field. And one thing about Nick, he's a consistent competitor, and you can see that all the time, regardless of what position that he's in.
Yeah, we like him. We like talking to him. He's a confident kid. This evening, I don't know if you saw the NFL top 100 or top 150 as voted on by the players
Mhm.
came out, and X was 17. It's funny, I thought of Waddle when I saw the graphic.
Mhm.
But what do you think about that ranking 17th as voted by his peers?
I think that's very honorable when you can be recognized by your peers who really know the game and who's got game in a sense. So I think it's honorable for anybody to be recognized that way. I know um, X. It doesn't necessarily really matter ranking. Who thinks what. He's going to continue to work to be the best possible player that he can be. But I'm pretty sure it's flattering to know that your peers think highly of you in regards to the work that you put in.
Thanks, GA. Good to see you, man.
Likewise.
I guess if I could piggyback off Joe, you got a guy like him who's been a playmaker for a lot of teams. What do you use as a coach to get more out of him? Obviously, he's at a high level.
hmm
You got better. You got more. How do you coach a guy like that?
Well, you coach the fine detail. I mean, X isn't perfect. He makes a lot of plays and he does a lot of good things, but we try to fine tune every single detail and coach up every single thing that he's going to go out there and do on the field on a down by down basis, whether it be in the pass game or even in the run game, where he needs to fit. And so every play is a new experience and a new thing that different details do show up, whether they were good or whether they were bad, or whether they need to be improved. So even with a guy like that has really established his name in the league as an elite corner, an elite defensive player, there's always something that we can continue to improve and teach him as he continues to try to develop to be the best he can.
Jason, he's a guy who's seen play a lot of corner throughout his career. How is his transition so far?
I think it's been good. I mean, he does have experience in the system, so he understands the communication that comes within certain defenses and certain situations and things like that. So that transition has been good. There's different nuances, obviously, from looking through the lens of playing safety and playing in the deep defense or even playing down in the box than it is playing corner. Tackling angles are different, and so some of those details are always being worked on and always having to improve because it is, although some of the movements are the same, the positions and the situations you'll be in defensively will be different. So it's coming along good. It's a work in progress, and it'll continue to be a work in progress. And fortunately enough, I have personally been in that position to make that transition from corner to safety. So I'm kind of coaching that through experience as well when you're dealing with a guy who's somewhat new to the position.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, just kind of, if I can actually educate you a little bit in that transition. You go from maybe a guy who's just focused mostly on one guy to seeing the whole field. What are the biggest things that you have to do or have to understand or see in the range?
I think from a safety transitioning from corner, at corner, a lot of the communication is being told to you in regards to what you're doing on this snap or what to watch for or what the component call is on certain coverages, where now as a safety you're delivering that communication, you're getting everybody aligned, you're getting linebackers to call, you're getting corners to call. And so before the ball's even snapped, there's a lot of things you got to know as a safety, and not just what to say, but even what to say before something or the next step were to even happen. It's building that understanding at that position from a communicator standpoint, and then from a play standpoint. Your angles are different in the run game. Your responsibility is obviously different in the pass game. Coming up on ball carriers when you're squared up on them are a little bit different when all your angles from a corner position are outside in. So that's a lot of the biggest difference with the transition, is the tackling angles, and really more so is the communication. That's where the work really goes into being able to be successful at that position, because if you can't communicate, you can't play. So you have to be able to go out there and communicate to the guys, because guys need to know what's going on, and you're the one that's giving that information.
Is it fair, I guess, to say, to look at the free safety, particularly this defensive end quarterback role, because of a lot of communication that you need to
There's a little bit of that. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's a little bit of, the quarterback communicator out there and getting guys in line. And for us defensively, and depending on the system, how much responsibility you put on that guy, to get you in and out of calls, and just like the quarterback, get you out of bad plays or get you out of certain things. And so some systems are based like that, and some systems are not. So it's just a matter of how much responsibility you put on that communicator. But definitely, there's going to have to be a high level of communication that he's going to have to make as a free safety, regardless of the defensive system that he's in.
It's a good point. Like when we talk about communication, it's interesting to me because you see Jason who's doing that. He's been doing it for like 12, 13 years. And then you got a younger guy who guys brought in his first year. So it seems like there are probably different comforts as far as how you communicate. How do you go about either of those guys in communicating and teaching how you love them to learn?
Well, it's just building an understanding of the terminology and what words fit with what defenses and when you're supposed to say certain things. And what we always talk about is building +1 communication, and not just the stuff that and the terms that the playbook requires you to say versus certain calls and certain things, but also communication to make sure that everybody understands the possibility of what can happen. Hey, if this guy moves, hey, alert for this, or hey, alert for this, or just consistent dialogue really throughout the course of the snap, pre and post, to make sure that everybody's on the right page. And it's just building awareness, building football IQ, understanding when these situations arise. And so whether it be a 13-year vet or a rookie, you have to know what to say. And for us, it's just continuing to practice that and give those guys the understanding of when those things need to be said and when they need to be executed and how.
So I guess speaking to Javon, I guess here's that communication aspect. Obviously, the CEO and some plays and centralized. You can't hear always communication. Where is he in that respect?
Developing, and I guess that's a very blanket word to say, but he's developing. We're encouraged where he is. He does have a pretty good understanding of what terminology to use in certain situations and certain defenses, but there are still things that we can continue to add on. It's like, hey, here's football 101 of the terminology we need to use in these defenses. And now at some point we're going to have to graduate to course 201, 301, 401, and that's something that he's continuing to develop through. And so a lot of guys, they don't get that right away. And they don't get that unless sometimes they're exposed to it. And again, it's early. We're going to have to continue to develop his vocabulary, and not just him, but Jason as well. And really any safety that's going to be in there and be a communicator in our defense, we have to always try to push the bar and the standard of our level of communication for us to be successful in defense.
I think I asked you maybe a couple weeks ago when we were out here talking about college transition. I guess for that safety position, on a collegiate level, are they giving the safeties that much responsibility on like an average, I guess, realm of what's your communication responsibility?
Again, regardless of the system, there has to be a high level of communication. Now, depending on what responsibility you put on that guy, there could be a minimal amount of communication to a very high level intellectual task of communication as a communicator. Our system, speaking from experience at Cal, those guys had to communicate quite a bit in some of our defenses and get outside linebackers and the corners and inside linebackers to call based on who's doing what and who's in coverage. And so, again, it all really depends on the system that you run and how much responsibility that you put on that position to get everybody aligned and get everybody ready to go.
If I could transition a little bit, I remember talking a few days ago with Eric Rowe. What stood out about this defense is that everybody can play man coverage, right? A lot of safety responsibilities, smart responsibilities. A lot of times you got those guys playing a lot in the zone. It seems like you guys are comfortable, Fazio or Porter, Allen coming down in the slot. What's the value maybe having all those guys being able to play man, even if that's not their main capacity?
I think there's a tremendous value when you have guys who you feel comfortable with matching up really on anybody and playing man coverage, and it allows you to be aggressive in certain situations when you like your matchup versus having to hide a guy or play zone because he doesn't have the ability to play man-to-man on a snap-by-snap basis. So it just allows us to be, and really any defense that has guys who can cover man-to-man, especially at the safety position, to be a little bit more versatile with with the use of their personnel.